The movie opens with a really long take in slow motion of a woman in red scrubs running who is clearly in distress. After that, the movie reveals to us that it's going to be playing out over the course of 6 chapters.
To me, this felt very Tarantino-y.
Shot on film, out of order, using a moody melodic soundtrack.
Full spoilers. We are going to spoil this movie.
Oh,
If you want to watch this movie, actually, I recommend that you don't watch our video until you watch the movie. Unless you don't care, then whatever. But like, if you do care, I would really watch the movie first.
First cuts us to chapter 3, which opens in a car chase. The woman we saw running is now in a car. She's being chased by a pickup truck. He stops his car, gets in the back of the pickup truck with his rifle, and fires. And it goes through this lady's back windshield, and it causes her to spin out and
roll her entire car.
She runs into the woods and finds a hideout with like booze in it. She picks up the vodka she finds in the wood and pours it on a head wound, like an ear wound she has. It kind of seems like it's a really bad time to do that because you can see him looking for her in the woods with his big old rifle. And she's like, now is a good time to pour alcohol in an open wound, which will hurt and I will make noise. And now is also a good time to start smoking a cigarette.
Well, you got to sterilize it, man. And then you got to calm yourself down with the cigarette. Makes sense.
It's a really easy smell to hone in on. She runs off and she finds a house and starts pounding on the door asking for help. And then we cut to chapter 5. In chapter 5, Demon, as he's so called in the movie, is aiming around the house with his gun, looking presumably for the woman. So we see him hunting around the house, and as he's doing so, he comes across some chests or whatnot, and if he comes across a chest, he shoots into it first and then opens it.
Saying, here, kitty, kitty,
Yep.
kitty.
And the chapter, I think, was called Here, Kitty, Kitty, Kitty. The order of operations is important. He hunts around the house, he goes up a set of stairs, then comes back down and into a kitchen where we see who we assume is the homeowner dead on the floor. And once he's back in that room, he feels safe enough to put his rifle back on his back, which makes you think, oh, he's looking for this woman. He broke in. He killed the homeowner because he realized that the homeowner was hiding her. As he's hunting around the house, we see her, again, kind of making a boneheaded decision. She's hiding in an enclosed space that we can't see. And so she uses her lighter, I guess, just to show the audience that she's hiding.
It looks good cinematically.
Yeah, it looks good. It also, the enclosed space she's in would have a very limited oxygen supply in theory. And lighting a fire is a really great way to eat all that up.
She doesn't have good survival skills, Tim.
No, she really doesn't. It's kind of amazing that she's
that.
accomplished all the things that she has. He goes outside, and we see probably one of the more interesting shots to me. I don't know why the shot was interesting to me. It was an overhead of him just standing in the front yard with a bunch of chickens around him.
It's showing that there's stuff that's supposed to be in a freezer out on the lawn.
He goes back inside, realizes he didn't check a freezer. He points his gun at it and fires, and she starts screaming. Chapter 1 puts us in a car with the guy and a gal.
Willa Fitzgerald's character is called the Lady. Kyle Gallner's character is the Demon.
So they're in the car chit-chatting. I actually really like the way this scene is lit. It's like a really harsh neon blue light, but it doesn't... It feels more stylistic than overbearing. They're in a car outside of a motel, figuring out if they're gonna get a room or not. Instead, they just start drinking in the car. She asks if he's a serial killer. He says no. And shortly after that, we cut to him choking her in bed. While he's doing it, she starts saying, harder. You're like, oh, it's one of these kind of things. Okay. Her hands are like, her wrists are chained to the bedboard of the motel thing. They're not actually having sex at this point. This is apparently foreplay. Tells him to stop, and he unchains her. And she says that it's not doing it for her, and that maybe the problem is that it's him. And he says, I don't know, maybe we don't choke you. And she says she needs some time. She needs a minute. And he pretty unceremoniously chains her back up. He hits her in the face, grabs her, and says, suck my foot. He says he's going to shove his foot in her mouth. Then the lady says, Mr. Snuffleupagus, Turns out that's the safe word. All of that was role play. Without switching chapters, it then cuts us back to the car for them talking about like the rules for their role play. And it cuts to her looking at him. And as she's looking at him, she sees a demon. After I finished this movie, I went back to a couple of the scenes that show the demon, literally 2 frames at most. And after that, it cuts to 4. When I was watching it, I thought to myself, maybe this is all still part of the game, because I don't know if I see one of my best friends in the entire world that I've ever had in my entire life being like, watch this movie, go into it blind, and it being about...
It is a real relief when you find out like that it's consensual and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because the actors play it so well that it is very upsetting and uncomfortable when he gets very violent. You don't see this gray area a whole lot in film.
No, and it's, the movie knows that it's uncomfortable to explore. And this movie is not done exploring uncomfortable ideas, not by a long shot. Then we cut to chapter 4, which shows us a breakfast being prepared. This breakfast, everything on the plate looks good, but then they mash it together and dump syrup over all of it, and I'm like, ugh. They gave Ed Begley Jr. a nice long ponytail, and they just seem like a happy elderly couple who may or may not be absolutely blazed.
Then they play a competitive game of puzzle.
Yeah, like they keep track of who's put more pieces in. The lady comes knocking on the door, screaming, let me in. Of course they let her in because she's like bloody and screaming and in distress. They give her some breakfast, ask her what she needs, and they go to call the cops. And she's like, no, please don't call the police. So he goes to call the cops, and we cut to the wife getting some Percocet for her pain. And she comes back down, finds her husband on his knees with a knife in him. The woman then pulls the knife out of him, and he falls to the ground. Then she takes Genevieve outside. Genevieve runs, and while she's running, she looks out and sees Demon just through a clearing in the trees coming toward the house. And that's when she hides in the freezer. Takes us to chapter 2, and we are smack dab back in the motel. The lady pulls out a bag of cocaine. I do cocaine! So he says he used to do it. It's been a really long time since he touched this stuff. But she says, it's my birthday. And he's like, well, I don't want to disappoint a lady on her birthday, so sure, I'll do cocaine. He agrees, and she's like, cocaine gets me super horny. And he's like, well, damn, I'm in. So they start kissing. This is one of the weirdest on-screen kissing scenes I've ever seen.
I think it's supposed to be weird, though, because she's clearly not typical.
She's an unusual gal.
You can kind of tell he wants a connection, but he doesn't want to do this stuff that she's doing, but he'll do it for that connection. And it's just kind of sad, like these little moments where you like see it in his face and you're like, oh, it's so sad.
They snort lines off of a mirror, and she goes into the bathroom and pulls out a knife and a taser.
She puts 2 lines and they both look like coke, but like hers is coke, his is ketamine.
Yeah, that's what she tells him. So she snorted cocaine. He snorted ketamine. He's ketamined out on the bed, not really going anywhere. He's like spitting up and this and that. And then she mounts him, pulls out the knife, and we don't know what's happening, but we know it hurts. So as she is knifing him, we cut to a text graphic that says 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Eventually it gets to 10 minutes, and then we see her in the bathroom. She takes off the wig. Her red hair's now blonde. She throws his phone in the toilet, takes his wallet, and in it is a badge. He's a cop.
He's a cop.
He's a cop. She carved the initials EL into his chest. It is short for the Electric Lady, we find out.
Which is a local notorious serial killer that people know about.
And as she's talking about it, she decides, well, this has all been fun, but I'm gonna kill you now. And she pushes his head to the side to expose his neck and goes to thrust her knife into his neck. He pulls out a gun that we see earlier. He had an ankle holster, and he shoots her ear.
Basically shoots her left ear off. Love Hurts was also playing while she was carving into him to set the mood a little bit.
She runs out of the room, and she says, like, this guy has a gun, run. She immediately plays the victim, and she books it. He gets out of the bed, out of the restraints, and does some actual cocaine for energy.
Gotta fight ketamine with cocaine.
It's at this point, while he's fumbling for the cocaine, that the movie makes it the most evident with its camera work that he's got a wedding ring on. She runs down to the motel lobby, and there's 2 women down there. And the lobby manager's like, I'm gonna call the cops. So she goes to call the cops, and so the woman stabs the manager in the neck with her knife. She does not kill the woman in scrubs, or maybe she does. We don't know. She just basically says, give me your scrubs. Which car's yours? Turns out the 78 Pinto is what we saw in the opening scene when she's driving away from him in the pickup truck. That was this woman's car. That's how she gets the Pinto, both from this lady in the lobby who she may or may not have killed. I'm not really sure. I could believe it either way because there's someone else in the movie that she lets go when you're like, why would you do that? She's seen your face and she knows who you are. Her decision making is super inconsistent. She's a very scatterbrained serial killer. Like I said, it's amazing she's gotten away with it for this long. Then we cut to chapter 6. So she is in the freezer, she's been shot, and the guy sits down because it's time for a smoke. She's not moving, we believe her to be dead. He cuffs her wrist to the handle outside of the freezer. Demon gets on the phone and says, hey Pete, it's RC. I need help, I'm in some trouble, please, this is where I am, come on down. Turns out she's still alive in the freezer. She isn't dead. Shy surprise. She starts to have like a total mental breakdown in the freezer and starts saying like, in that motel room when you were choking me and smacking me or this, that, and the other, I felt like I may have actually been starting to have some genuine feelings for you. And after that, she pulls out a can of bear spray, which we see that the hippie couple had earlier. So she took it from them and took it into the freezer with her. She bear sprays him and she grabs him and bites his carotid artery. And he falls to the floor bleeding out, and she spits out a chunk of his neck flesh. Fun stuff. She hops out of the freezer, and she's shot in the left shoulder, but it is also her left arm that is cuffed to the handle of the freezer. So she is going through a lot of pain trying to use her legs to pull his dead body closer to her so she can get his ankle gun. She gets that, and then Pete arrives. She hears the cops coming in. She knows he's a cop, so she knows that these are probably cops. So she hides the gun she got from him, pulls down her pants, and starts to cry on the floor. She stages it while she's cuffed to the freezer to make it look like it was self-defense and that she bit him and killed him because he was trying to her. So 2 cops come in, a man and a woman. Steve Gomez and not Steve Gomez. Gomez is saying we need to do this by the book. Now, I don't know in real life what the protocols are, but the dialogue that's flowing out of these 2 cops is rough. She is immediately empathetic. How can you not tell what's going on? Look at what's happening. She's got her pants down. She's covered in blood. He has a gun.
You can still be empathetic and do your job, you know? Like, I think it was very weird the way they handled this.
Which is kind of where I fall too. Gomez is like, we don't even know that she actually is a victim yet. Essentially saying, we don't know if she's telling the truth. Which I think there's a line to walk between. I think you can be like, you can uncuff her cuffs and then actually handcuff her and take her out. Just because someone is handcuffed doesn't mean they're under arrest. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can cuff somebody because you're worried they might be a danger to themselves. You don't know. You could just say like, hey, we're going to cuff your hands. You're okay. You're with us. We're going to put you in the back of the car, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any weapons on you? Which they don't check. So she's like, it's clear what happened. We don't know if she's telling the truth. We don't know who's a victim. We don't know what's going on. All I know is my buddy who called me is dead on the floor, and I've known him for years. He would never do anything like this. Blah, 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 blah. They realize that her left shoulder is shot. The woman unlocks the cuffs, and they put her in the cop car. And as she's being driven, Genevieve comes out of the woods and comes up to the cop car saying, like, someone killed my husband, someone did this, there's a woman out here, and she looks in the back of the cop car and sees her and immediately gets shot in the head. So the jig is up. The cops are like, oh, surprise, you weren't the victim. And Gomez doesn't like rub it in the female cop's face. He's just kind of like, son of a bitch. So then Lady lets the female cop go off into the woods.
Before she lets her go, she also tells her that she's the electric lady. She's like, if you just comply, it'll be better for you. No, it won't, because I'm a serial killer.
So she makes the lady cop leave. And then it cuts to epilogue. We've seen all 6 chapters. They ask why she does it, and she says there are times where with certain people, she doesn't see people anymore. She sees devils. And shortly after she says that, we see Gomez look at her in the rearview mirror, and we see her meet his gaze, and she acts startled. We don't see that she sees a devil, but we assume that's what she sees because the next shot is an overhead in the car with the windshield getting shot out and a bunch of blood hits it. So she shot Gomez in the head. Time for a smoke. She hails a truck and a lady gets out of it and she starts playing victim again. She's like, help me, I'm this, I'm that, like people are after me. The woman gets out of her pickup truck, helps lady into the passenger seat. Then, as she gets back in the driver's seat, she looks over and sees lady is pulling a gun out of her jacket. So the woman who picked her off the road pulls out her 6-shot and shoots her and takes her gun away.
She looked in the mirror and saw a devil, so she pulled out her gun and got the other woman to shoot her.
I do remember her looking in the mirror and seeing it. I don't know why I thought it was after she got shot. I do have it written down beforehand. Okay, yep, you are right. And my notes prove it. The woman who helped her calls 911 and says, hey, I have a woman in my truck. I had to shoot her in self-defense. I'm taking her to the hospital. And all the while, the camera stays on lady. And as this frame goes on, this is a really long take, probably close to 2 minutes, somewhere between 90 seconds and 2 minutes. And it goes from beautiful warm colors and kind of fades into colder colors until it finally fades into monochrome and she dies. And that is the end of the movie. I do like this movie, but I understand why some people would hate this movie. I guess you could say it breaks a lot of gender norms. Most of the time, situations like this are what they look like. They actually are. When cases do happen and it turns out the woman did lie, there are people who latch onto that and treat it as if that is the norm and not the exception. And then you'll have cases where someone really high profile is exposed for an years ago or something like that, and everyone's like, oh, you're just coming out about it now, this, that, and the other. They'll look back and be like, well, this one person way back when was lying, so apparently it happens. And if it happened this one time, who knows how many times it's always happened, and who knows how many innocent guys are in jail who tried to pin it on her. At the beginning of the movie, the audience is the lady cop. At that point in the movie, the audience is the guy cop. The audience's perspective shifts from being more like hers to more like his. If this was the opening scene of the movie, everyone would be like, wow, Gomi's being a total asshole. And so, because we would feel the same way, like just looking at that. There are some critics of the movie who have felt like, I believe in one particularly harsh review, they said it was thinly veiled misogyny and kind of made it seem like the movie had a little bit of like a power fantasy going on of him proving a woman's accusations to be wrong and invalid because she was a manipulative, horrible person. The movie's modus operandi is to constantly subvert expectations. Executives originally wanted the movie to be in order. The director had to pull out like a contract clause that there would be a mandated test screening of it in its intended order. And during that screening, someone in the audience just yelled out, "This bitch is nuts." Or this bitch is crazy, something like that. And the audience reacted so viscerally to someone saying it out loud, like, yes, she is crazy, that the executives then changed their mind and agreed to let the director and the production crew put the movie in its non-chronological order.
That would deflate the entire point of the film. Is that like new information recontextualizes everything? Yeah. When you approach the movie, you just are like, oh, okay, based on the limited information I have, this is the perpetrator, this is the victim, without having all the information. So I think the movie's trying to tell us that we should have done his approach, which is that before you judge everything, get all the information first. That's what I'm taking from the film.
The way that the movie is designed to poke and prod at the comfortability of its audience. And it ends up being, I think, an interesting conversation piece, but I don't think what you walk away from this movie with is like, this is the rule, not the exception. If that is what the director wanted me to walk away with, then that's a shame, but it's not really what I walked away with. And maybe that's just because of my upbringing and the fact that I've like read a news article in my lifetime. I think it was beautifully shot. I don't think I needed to know it was shot on 35mm film before it played out.
Wow, it really bothered you, huh?
I think it's a little goofy. It would be like if I made a short film and at the beginning it said, shot on the C-70. Like, why? Why aren't you impressed? I shot this on the C-70.
I think if the movie's good, then it's okay to be a little pretentious, but I get what you're saying.
Let the movie play out and just let it be what it is.
This movie was directed by J.T. Mulner. He adapted the screenplay of the new Stephen King The Long Walk movie. That was the book that got me into Stephen King. Like, I had not read Stephen King until that, and I was, like, hooked.
I've only ever read Eyes of the Dragon. It's the only Stephen King book I ever read. I remember liking it. The budget for this movie was $4 million, estimated to be $4 million. It did make money back ultimately. It is a good movie. I don't recommend it for everyone. The movie got a 7.0 out of 10 with 53,000 reviews, and on Metacritic got a solid 80. For genres, it has erotic thriller, psychological thriller, horror, and thriller. I would put an asterisk on erotic because at no point was I ever like, oh yeah. It's really good. It's really well made. It is edited to play with the audience's expectations and comfortability. It can be a good conversation piece, but if you walk away from this movie thinking this is the rule and not the exception, I think you're kind of walking away from it a bit wrong. It's a movie that is just made to play with expectations. That is the game. The game of the movie is you thought this, well, now that. Fuck you. It's short, relatively short. I think it clocks in at about just a little over an hour and a half. If the stuff that we talked about over the course of this made your skin crawl a little bit, it will probably be worse if you see it. Then I would just say skip it.
If that's something you're interested in, go see the movie.
Like, subscribe, keep an eye out for any little shorts we put out there. And thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening to us talk about this movie.
Next time we're doing Eastern Promises. We promise. Probably.
I'm on the West Coast.
Western Promises.